Air Force because he died of cancer.
Learning, watching the
Spitfire barrel rolls off, exit stage right, and the Hurricane appears. It is slow, and I think with the undercarriage down, but very soon to speed up from the Swiss Air Force, from Fliegerstaffel 17 at Payerne, the FA-18C Hornet. That he did what we the gear down, the wheels down for a barrel roll as he comes in from the left with the undercarriage down, what they call a dirty barrel with the undercarriage down. We were talking about earlier as the high alpha. We actually saw it very clearly with the F-16 with the smoke trailing off the wingtips. The pilot actually can't see where he's going when he's doing this. He's probably doing about 110 knots, 120 miles an hour. Switzerland has had the F-18 since about 1997, and they've always had a display team, a solo display team, with the aircraft since then. And there's Teddy still going with that very high alpha aeroplane, pitched up as it goes along, absolutely flat, but looking as if it's climbing.
For you.
It's got the power right back at the moment, two F404 GE engines. 36,000 pounds of static thrust available from both of them together. Teddy Meister is accelerating for his final fast pass. As he goes away on Switzerland by and large only use this for air-to-air combat. There it is, the fast final pass. Go the P-40s before later on moving on to the P-51 Mustang. Lovely. The famous Tuskegee Airman. The P-40 first saw action when Major General Claire Finot formed the American volunteer group which came to be known as the Flying Tigers. Then to Oregon State University as an instructional airplane, and then stored before being discovered by P-40 experts in California. First flew after being restored in 1982, down the back behind the two pilots. Here she is then, in her last ever flying display season. When this aeroplane lands in October, you will never see another Vulcan fly again. Starting at about 160 knots, 184 miles an hour, and accelerating up to 300 knots. And pulling away off to our left to come straight in from the far side of the airfield. And the noise there coming from 4 Rolls-Royce Bristol Olympus engines, 202 engines. 16,500 pounds of static thrust each, total of about 65,000. The same engine, a later model, was the engine that powered Concorde. Of course, the Concorde once had reheat. This was not a supersonic aeroplane drawn on a scruffy piece of paper in 1946 by the man who designed the fantastic Lancaster, Roy Chadwick. He died in 1947 in a crash, and he never saw his brilliant design fly. Nor did he see it become the first successful operational delta wing aircraft in the world, rather like R.J. Mitchell not seeing his Spitfire into RAF service. So watch now as Bill Ramsey takes the aircraft into a spiral climb. The famous Vulcan howl. There are different explanations for how that happens. The easiest is that people say it's a bit like blowing over the top of a Coke bottle. You've got 2 engines on each side with a single intake, and under certain conditions you get that wonderful whistling sound. She's getting her wheels down now. She's not going to land here. The runway's not long enough, but we will see her fly by with her wheels down. So you get to see the 18 wheels of the aircraft, 16 in the main undercarriage and 2 of the nose wheel. So the RAF got its first Vulcan in 1956. It had been designed with the Valiant and the Victor to carry the British nuclear deterrent during the Cold War. Last year it was 25 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the European communist regimes, which eventually ended the Cold War, and this aeroplane was a significant player in that ending of the Cold War. After Vulcans virtually went out of service as part of the Vulcan display flight, because then, as now, everybody loved her so much they wanted her to keep on flying as a display aircraft. And she finally retired from the RAF in 1993. Now, as she comes by this time, watch for the bomb doors opening, and you'll see that capacious bomb bay that carried 21 1,000-pound bombs. So Jonathan Lazari, the AEO, is opening the bomb bay as she goes by. And that, of course, is the heart of the bomber. And that was the bomber that Martin Willers, sitting in the right-hand seat today, took the more than 7,000 miles down to the Falkland Islands from Ascension Island, 7,000 miles round trip. He was supported by 11 Victor tankers, and he had 18 refuelings in order to get that bomb load to the Falkland Islands and bomb the runway at Port Stanley. He dropped all 21 1,000-pound bombs, and they hit the runway with 2, and that was about par for the course that they were supposed to do. And they eventually got back. Martin Withers was awarded the DFC, and it was a turning point in the Falklands War. It gave the Argentines pause for thought. They didn't station their fast jets on the Falkland Islands, which was significant in the prosecution of the war. see a Vulcan fly again. And they didn't. They counted without two people in particular, but lots of others. David Walton, who bought this aeroplane, and all the spares, and Dr. Robert Fleming, who eventually formed what is now the Vulcan to the Sky Trust. And she eventually flew again in 2007, so 8 years ago. It's been an extraordinary, there's always been the problem of money. And now this has become her last year because the three technical authority companies that have to be, by regulation, looking after her, or rather not looking after, but certificating her, have decided that they can't afford to support her anymore. So at the end of the year, she will land and there will never be another Vulcan flying again. And interestingly, there will also never be another British-built four-jet aeroplane flying again. That's how significant she is. And she's going to have a fantastic season this year. Lots of exciting dates already lined up. See, she can whisper by when she's not making lots of noise. Well, Bill Ramsey has done a slightly different display, but I rather fear that was the last pass. And so, as I said, if this is your only air show of the season, then that will be your last sight of Vulcan flying. I can only suggest that, as the great Dr. Seuss said, the man who wrote those wonderful children's books, Cat in the Hat and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, he said,
the 2XL aviation fleet, part of our fleet of aircraft. As I said, we have the Blaze aerobatic team. The 727 you can see is operated by 2XL under the partnership of T2 Aviation. To fly our full display for you. The 727 is going to remain with us for a little while longer. It's going to perform a display for you here this afternoon. Now, as I said, the 727 is operated by 2XL under the partnership of T2. T2 holds the contract to supply Oil Spill Response Limited with a dispersant spray aircraft for any worldwide oil contingencies. So the aircraft that you can see here, this is GOSRB. It's one of the last 727s produced by Boeing, and it was specifically manufactured for FedEx for its domestic cargo operations. Now, Oil Spill Response is a company that is set up, and the major shareholders of the company are oil companies such as BP. And the role of the 727 within that company is to provide a capability to spray diversant over the water. So the 727 that you can see is going to be modified. It was chosen for its range, dash speed and stability. Plus it has 3 engines, so it provides quite a lot of redundancy just in case one of those aircraft engines goes down during flight. Now, the concept of delivery is that this aircraft will fly at very low level over the sea where there's been an oil slick, spray the oil slick with approximately 17 tons of fluid in a suitable pattern to actually break the oil down and disperse it so as not to cause, or to cause as little environmental hazard as possible. The sister aircraft to the one displaying here is GOSRA, and that was actually the very last production B727 built in 1984. That one is currently undergoing modifications to accept a newly developed and advanced spray system. And we're hoping that that will be ready in late autumn this year. And that system is actually being designed and manufactured, fitted and tested by various 2XL aviation departments. So in the 727 today, the aircraft is being captained by Dan Griffith. Dan is an ex-Royal Air Force pilot. He's amassed about 7,600 flying hours across a variety of more than 510 different types and marks of aircraft. That includes fighters, airliners, helicopters, gliders, airships and float planes. Senior First Officer on board today is Richie Matthews. Richie's had an RAF career that spans more than 27 years. He flew Jaguars at RAF Cosford and then moved to Lossiemouth as a qualified weapons instructor. Richie actually spent 3 years as a pilot with the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the Red Arrows. That was between 1994 and 1997, where he flew as Red 2, 4 and then 8. Richie's last posting in the RAF was as the officer commanding 451 Squadron during the final years of the Nimrod R1. Mike joined RAF Holton as an apprentice and served for 8 years. He's since flown many aircraft types and has also worked for British Airways, Virgin Atlantic and British Caledonian before coming to join 2XL Aviation.